breaking news, former top CNN anchor Don Lemon has been arrested by FBI agents.
So the current Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered his arrest, and this has actually been a drawn-out process. Earlier this month, feds tried to charge him in Minnesota, but 2 different judges refused to sign off on the arrest warrant. But then prosecutors presented the case to a grand jury instead, which is a separate but also valid way to get an arrest warrant. And the grand jury indicted him, leading to his arrest.
So why? Well, the whole thing stems from anti-ICE protesters entering a church in Minnesota during a service. Disruptions occurred inside that church while Lemon was there live streaming and interviewing people as it happened.
You like ice? No, sir.
This might be surprising, but it is a federal crime to use force, threats, or otherwise physically obstruct another person's religious worship. And it's important to note that several other people, including those actively protesting, were also arrested. And Lemon's attorney is saying that it's ridiculous that he was lumped in with the people actively protesting, because they say he was not an active protester, but rather was just an investigative journalist documenting the event. And his journalism is protected by the First Amendment.
Critics of this arrest further say that this is all just because the AG and president don't like Lemon, and that the whole thing's political and will have a chilling effect on journalism. That said, a grand jury did review all the evidence here and choose to indict Lemon specifically. Although it's important to note that grand jury indictments are notoriously easy to get.
Legally, the outcome of this case will likely depend on this specific word here, intentional. Did Lemon intentionally try to interfere with the church service? Or did he merely follow a group of protesters into the church to document their obstruction?
Intent is a big word in the law, and it's often hard for prosecutors to prove.
This is extremely dishonest. I saw a few people talking about the arrest of Don Lemon. Okay, they're saying, oh, they're arresting him because he covered a protest. You know, the First Amendment, all that crap. They're being dishonest. Every single person, right, who is against the arrest of Don Lemon, the only thing they say is that, oh, you're arresting a journalist who was protesting, who was covering a protest, who was exercising their First Amendment. That's what they're saying. Not a single one of them mentioned him being in that church. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them mentioned him entering a church and disrupting a congregation, frightening people, scaring people. Not a single one of them. You wonder why. Because that would change the narrative. That would change the narrative to see that, you know what, maybe it wasn't about the First Amendment, right? Maybe it was about him terrorizing a group of people who had nothing to do with anything, right? Who's minding their own business. A group of people who weren't outside doing whatever, right? Who's minding their own business. He entered, right, a church, uninvited, but I mean, you know, it's a church, and terrorized a group of people. That's what he did. That's not you exercising your First Amendment. No, that's you being a terrorist, right? That's you terrorizing citizens. So he wasn't arrested for exercising his First Amendment. He was arrested for being a jackass, for being a dick, right? For being, honestly, what is it? Probably a terrorist in a sense, right? Not necessarily harmful, but malicious, right? Not a single one of these people, right, who was talking about their outrage about Don Lemon being arrested mentions the church. Not a single one of them. That's why you see how, this is why I'll constantly see how Democrats, how the left are dishonest. Okay? They don't mention the whole picture, right? Probably Don Lemon was covering the protest. He was outside, you know, joining us, whatever. But it stopped once he entered that church. Once he terrorized those people, right? Once he brought fear into these people. Because who's gonna know, right? What would any of these people know what they're doing? None of these churchgoers knew what these random ass people entering their church was gonna do to them. So I think it's funny. I think this is why I'm honestly said where I'm fed up with the left. I'm fed up with Democrats. They're dishonest people. They're hypocrites. They like to control the media. This is why so many people are upset about the media. This is why they're so against the media, right? Because shit like this. They're so outraged about the media. How you guys want to create such a skewed narrative and then it turns into like a propaganda, right? A propaganda machine. This is the problem I'm finding. Absolutely disgusting with these people.
This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out.
This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere, they don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual.
So right now it's kind of mayhem. We're not part of the activists, but we're here just reporting on them.
Did they explain to you why they're here?
They did not.
They said that there is someone here in Easterwood, someone who is a member of ICE, and he's a pastor of the church.
Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left.
So this is what the First Amendment is about the freedom to protest.
There's a varying array of views in this church on politics
politics of immigration, recognize the complexity of the issue.
This shows you just how divided America is. When you look at the protesters here, and then you look at the people there who are praying, and you know what was the interesting thing? If these two groups could just get together, they might figure out what to do.
I don't necessarily agree with everything that's going on in the Twin Cities right now, but I don't think it's good to fight fire with fire. I think it's good to speak up. I think it's good to protest, but I think it's better to do it in a peaceful way.
Yeah, that was interesting to watch. This guy here, look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. They think you lost and this didn't accomplish anything, and you went into their house, the house of the Lord.
The reality is the house of the Lord is a place where love lives. It's not a place where you can have a pastor masquerading as the director for the field office of ICE in St. Paul.
It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it.
Journalism is not a badge or a shield that protects you from criminal consequences when you are part of a crime. And I think the videos show how close he was to these folks. I think further evidence will show more information about that. But he clearly knew, and he stated before going into the facility, it's on his own video, what was going to happen there.
All right, well, huge breaking news this morning as good old Don Lemon has just been arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles in connection to his involvement with a Minneapolis anti-ICE church storming just a couple of weeks ago, after it turns out that a grand jury did not find his initial argument of it was First Amendment protected protest, or even his later pivot of I was just there as a journalist, to be all that convincing. And perhaps the hilarious part of all of this is that the federal laws now being used against Lemon and the anti-ICE agitators are actually ones that historically were both written by Democrats and weaponized against pro-life activists and right-wingers for years. By the way, I'd like to point out as well that there are multiple January 6thers that were there just filming, right? They were there as quote-unquote journalists, and then in that case, the Biden administration did not find those arguments to be all that convincing, but of course, now there's a massive firestorm. This is weaponization. This is a crackdown on free speech. No, nobody's against the law. Actually, as a matter of fact, it turns out that leftists do not understand the First Amendment, or now more recently, the Second Amendment that they constantly keep trying to, cite in defense. But we'll bring you all of these details here today, guys. This is a big story. It turns out. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate the support. And that said, take a listen to these details, because at first we were dealing with a situation where liberal judge in Minneapolis after a liberal judge refused to bring the case, and so essentially what the DOJ did is go to a grand jury to get that indictment, and now, by the jury of his peers, turns out there's more than enough here to bring criminal.
Renee Good! 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 Don't shoot! 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 Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! This is the house of God, and we are
I want to make a comment about this whole Black Panther, Black Lions crap, okay? I saw a comment that said, that they said, someone commented said, You should stop putting them down. They're doing something that, you know, you wouldn't do, or, you know, they're trying to help you. Yeah, they're trying to do something I wouldn't do. They're trying to help illegal immigrants. Makes sense. Makes sense. Literally spitting on the sacrifice and efforts of your ancestors. You create a group instead of trying to stop or curtail or lessen black on black crime, your brothers killing your brothers, the high violence rates in your own community, right? Stop killing the people in your own communities. Policing your own community, right? So the police don't even have to do it, right? How about do that? Okay? How about care about your community? How about care about improving your community? How about the illiteracy rates in your community? How about the impoverishedness in your community? How about caring about your community? How about trying to feed your community? How about caring about your community? No. Let me care about illegal immigrants. Makes sense to me. The stupidity in that. You not realizing how, I'm not saying I'm old enough to understand, but I at least understand the gist, or, you know, the summary, where the Black Panther movement, they focus on bettering their community. They focus on protecting their community. They focus on, you know, being champions of their community, of their people. You care about illegal immigrants, people who don't give a shit about you, right? These illegal immigrants never give a shit about you. They never gave a shit about black people. But yes, let's create the Black Panther movement to stop federal agents from handling illegal immigrants. That's what you care about? You can tell how it's just a bunch of like PR shit. Like kids, right? Kids trying to, you know, gain notoriety. Kids trying to, you know, be cool with the left, with the Democrats. Where they didn't, Black Panther movement didn't care. The Black Panther group, they didn't care about being cool or any of that shit. They care about their community. They care about their people. You neither care about your community or care about your community or your people. You're caring about illegal immigrants. The absolute stupidity in that. I'm sorry.
I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get.
She's the woman that's supposedly saying ICE kidnapped her, or, you know, arrested her and all that shit, right? Who knows if it's true? We'll see. But I just wanted to talk about the first few seconds, right? Like, proud of being Somali and all that stuff. I always find it funny that the ones that hate America, the ones that are so proud of their ethnicity, proud of their country of origin, are the same people that, one, leave their country of origin, won't go back to their country of origin, won't stay in their country of origin, and won't leave America. I've always said this, right? I'm not saying that I'm not proud of being an Asian, right? An Asian American, but I've always said it's America first. I view myself as American before anything else. Before being Vietnamese or whatever, okay? I view myself as being American. America first. I'm proud of being an American. That's above all else, okay? So I'm not going to say that, oh, I'm proud of being Asian, I'm proud of being Vietnamese. No, I'm proud of being an American. Being an American has given me the life that, you know, that I have, okay? I believe there probably is countries better than America, but as an American, America's the best country for me, okay? America's the best. I only wish the best for America. I just find it weird that these people some people who don't want to assimilate, who don't want to be part of the American culture, way of life, American ideology, be good citizens, be lawful, abiding citizens, care about America, care about the country, are the same people who always hate on the country, always want to carry the flags of other countries, always want to rep that they're from other countries, yet won't leave to be in those other countries, or left those countries to be in America for whatever reason, right? Better opportunities. You pretty much, if you say any opportunity, any reasons, it shows you that your country wasn't that great, and you would gladly leave your country for something better. You're not a citizen that I'm all that crazy to clamor about. So I'm just, you know, those few seconds just got me a little bit. I I'm gonna say triggered, but I mean, it's just funny perspective that a lot of the protesters, the right, I mean, the left, constantly wave, the things they do just shows you how un-American they are, so. I don't know. That is what I see wrong with the left. The left is making their political ideology their life, their way of life, their personality, who they are. This whole thing with, like, you know how people are having now Trump deranged syndrome? It's like, seriously, get a life. I mean, like, we have a serious issue where so many people are so mentally disturbed. You are so intertwined with your politics that it's ruining your life. It's affecting your life, right? It can affect your life to a high degree. This is derangement, right? Unbelievable, crazy. You know, I came across this picture, and I'm like, you know, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, left or right, to want to push your kids, small little kids, right, into a political landmine, political sphere is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. It's irresponsible. Let kids be kids. They shouldn't be thinking about this. They shouldn't be caring about this. Okay? They shouldn't. This is why I've said this, where white liberal women are honestly disgusting and terrible. I think they're destroying America. I think they are, honestly, they shouldn't be breeding. Right? They shouldn't be breeding. They shouldn't be producing the next generation of liberal women. Right? They shouldn't. But it is what it is. I'm just like, why don't you keep this BS to adults, right? Because it's already divisive, already triggering for adults, right? It's already it's honestly creating a whole lot of chaos between adults. To think that it's a good idea to include your daughter, your child, into this whole political landscape, you're tiring. And I would say this for Republicans as well, for the right. If you want to push your child, right? If your child knows about Trump, you something's wrong with you, right? If your child knows about Trump, something is wrong with you. When I was this age, I didn't know nothing of who was the president. I don't know nothing about government, and you shouldn't. Let children be children. She has 2 other photos of her daughter being an activist. Are you kidding me? You're disgusting. You really are. I'm really... This is too much. It really is. And this is why these are the worst parents, in my opinion. Right? One of the worst. Of course, they're more terrible parents, but this is definitely not good parenting, in my opinion. Let kids be kids. They shouldn't be caring about the political climate.